Hello and welcome to episode 11 of my vendor event series. I'm going to talk about a few vendor events that I did in November in this video. So I have the one I just did yesterday. I'm filming this on the 16th. This is the 15th that I did an event. I have one next weekend, which is the 22nd. I also have a kind of a secret one in the middle of the week coming up. It's the 19th, I think it is. So it's Wednesday. That's with Kohl's corporate office. They invited me for this holiday vendor event thing. Again, I got invited. I think it came from, I don't remember if I talked about this in my last episode or not. I'm sorry, my brain is, I'll explain more why in a minute, but there's just like 10,000 tabs open right now in my brain. And it's hard for me to like remember certain things anymore. I used to be better at that. I'm trying. Anyway, so I was invited to this. I think this came from when I did the fall at the fairgrounds back in October 5th. There was this woman that came through my booth and she took my card and she was looking at everything and she's like, I'm going to contact you. I have events coming up. She did. I'm pretty sure that's who that was. So that's where this came from. So something finally happened when someone took my card. Amazing. The first time. So, you know, I felt kind of obligated on top of it, but it doesn't cost anything for me to be there. I don't know exactly what the catch is. There's kind of a catch. Like, I know they wanted to connect us with, like, these different, like, community groups they have, and I picked the woman one because that's the best one for me. I don't know what's going to happen there, if there's something I have to do for that, or if it's completely free, you know, if I have to join that in organization or something because they did it, or if I'm going to be like strongly encouraged or something like that. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about it, but I'll find out on Wednesday. But that one is $0 to get in as far as financially. Again, I don't know what the catch is. If anyone buys anything there, I will make money. So hopefully. Now I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. But about that one, you'll hear about that one next in this video. But right now I'm talking about the other one, which I'm going to get to, I swear. But for that one, all I have is a table that they're providing for me, and a tablecloth that they're providing. And I'm allowed to bring my pegboard too, because I asked about that, because they're like, do you want to bring anything else? You know, let us know ahead of time. And I asked if I could bring my pegboard, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, you can bring that. So I'm bringing that. But everything else is just on the table. I don't have room for a lot of things. So pegboard's going to be to hang up, you know, my door hangers and stuff like that, and my bigger signs. And then I'm going to have my ornaments and everything on the table that I have. And I'm going to try by Wednesday to update my, like, where I had my iPad right here, where I had this up I used to have this up at my events showing my videos. Well, I'm going to try to do what I wanted to do, where I want to do like advertisements, like, oh, like if it's a video or a picture of something I do, and then I'll have information about it here on the side, and then have it kind of flip through all the things I do. I want to do that. But, I don't know if I'm going to try to have that available Wednesday, because it would be a good place to do it, because again, I don't have a lot of room to advertise stuff. So having a video there playing with that kind of stuff on it, I think would help. And it's only a couple hours too, so my battery shouldn't run out. So that's good. But yeah, I'll get to that event later on in the video. That's the next one. So let's talk about the one I just did. That one, well, again, I don't know if I'm like, again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last video on this series or not, because I'm talking about, actually I should mention this too. I mentioned this on my last video too. I have a vlog channel now where I go through like the behind the scenes of everything I'm doing in my business, including my vendor events and other things. So I just put out a video about this event last Sunday, well, the day I'm filming here, the 16th. It's vlog number 11, this is episode 11 of this, but vlog number 11 on that channel is the one that has the information about this event that I'm talking about right now. Later on in the video, there's probably other vlogs that are talking about those. I'll talk about those later. 11 is for this section. So on that channel, I talked about this. I'm not sure if I talked about this on this channel at all in this, with this going on, because it kind of started during the last event that I did. And I don't remember if I mentioned it or not. So in preparation for the last event I did, which was in episode 10, that was the Tinsel and Teas, the one in Lake Geneva. My father-in-law had an issue. He had to go to the hospital. And my husband had to go down because they live down in Pleasant Prairie, Kenosha area. We live in like Milwaukee, New Berlin area. And it's like an hour, 45 minutes, an hour away. So he had to go down there and basically live down there for a bit while his dad was in the hospital taking care of his mom, because his mom also has issues and she needs help with stuff. Well, turns out that my father-in-law did pass away. That happened last weekend. Last weekend. So since then, we had to move my mother-in-law in with us. And it was kind of difficult prepping for this event because I had, a different dynamic going on. And so I didn't get a whole lot extra done there. There was stuff I did. I'll kind of show you what I did. But it was mainly like trying to deal with that in preparation for this event that I'm talking about now, the one I just did on the 15th. So what I did do for this event is I was able to make some more small signs. So in total, I had 20. I think I only sold one at the event. I'll get to what I sold and everything in a minute, because there's good news there. We'll get there. So I made more of those because I was trying to focus on lower price things so more people would buy lower price things. And I still have a few blank ones left that I should just make and have them at the rest of my events now for the rest of the year. I didn't make any more those thick ornaments that I have. I didn't make any more of those yet. I do have ones that are ready to be painted to make more, but I haven't made any more yet. I was planning on making my thin ornaments that I have because I have shapes in like thin wood and thin acrylic. Didn't get to that for this event, but I'm hoping for the next two, especially the second one I have, or the third, not the Kohl's one, the one coming up next weekend. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in a minute. But that one's going to be like the big one of the season, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But I didn't get to that for this event. I was hoping to, but I decided to focus on other things. So I got the small signs done, and I got some more magnets done also. So at least I had like a decent amount of both of those. And then I also had to revamp my signage. I actually changed my pricing a little bit on some of the things. I increased, not decreased, increased pricing. I increased my door hangers. So my smaller ones, 15-inch diameter, used to be 15. They're now 20. And my 18-inch diameter ones were 20, and now they're 25. I had a couple people like kind of tell me that I think that they thought that was too cheap or whatever. And the reason they were is because I bought that wood a long time ago and it was a lot cheaper when I bought it then. Like going by today's prices, like I think my pricing now would be more fair. But also, like I have to factor in, I've been taking them to how many events and, they haven't sold. There's been a few that have sold, but there hasn't, the rest of them haven't. And I'm trying to sell through the rest of those this year and focus on them again maybe next year, make more. But I'm not making any more this year unless I get like a custom order for one, which I wish I would, but I don't think that's happening. So I don't have to worry about that. But I'll probably, because I bought those in bulk last time, and I probably will do that again next year when I buy my supplies in bulk for next year, because I'm taking a break. Planning on taking a break for the winter. Did I mention that in this series? No, I'm not. I am. I'm either going to start in the spring or summer. I'm not sure which one. But focus more on, the second half of the year, maybe a very end of the first half. But at least taking the rest of December, like half of December, January, February off. And probably March as well. And maybe starting it in April or May. With the vendor events. I'm going to try to focus on other things during that time. But anyway, so I want to sell the door hangers. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. I'm getting off track a little bit. And I did sell one of those. I sold one of the big ones at this event. But like I said, I'll get to that in a minute. But I had those. I had the same square and rectangle signs that I always had that never sell. I always get comments on them, but people never buy them. Like they're like, especially lately I have one that says your opinion is not part of the recipe, and I've seen that all over the place. Like it's not like I came up with it. That one gets a lot of comments all the time, but no one ever buys it, maybe I think I need to make that in a magnet form. Maybe because it's cheaper. People don't even look at the price though. They're just like, I don't want it. Maybe they will want it if it's magnet though. I don't know. But anyway, so I had those. I had my 2 thick wood slices, which again, people comment all the time, oh, that's beautiful. I think the price kind of throws them off because it's $30 each, but that's because of the price of the big wood chunk that they're on, and it's 2-sided design. So that's where that pricing comes from. So, no one really wants to buy those because they're too much or whatever. Maybe someday if I get people to use my vending machine, which I didn't bring to this event, and I'm not sure if I'm bringing to Kohl's. I'm definitely going to bring it to my next Saturday event, but I'm not sure about Kohl's yet. But I didn't bring it to this one. I'll get to why in a minute. There are a couple reasons. But speaking of the vending machine though, so if I can get someone to buy a token for $5 and they win the 20, then they might want to buy something bigger like that chunk, or one of the bigger door hangers or something like that. But it's a matter of getting people to use it, which I have some ideas about that. I've been bouncing ideas off of ChatGPT. I don't really like using AI. I definitely don't use it for design work, but sometimes trying to figure out certain problems in my business, especially when I have so much other stuff going on that I can't concentrate. It's again, bouncing ideas off of it. Doesn't always have the best ideas, but it's come up with a few things that have sparked some things for me. So I'll talk about that in a minute as well. The vending machine stuff is one of the things that I was really trying to figure out. So it's helped me with that. But again, I didn't bring it to this event. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a vending machine. I talked about that in episode 3, I think it was, on this series. 3 was about the art vending machine. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen, but I'm pretty sure it was 3. And then I was also trying to come up with different ideas to revamp the booth a little bit. Now, in my last episode 10, I think I talked about at the end of that one, about the Tinsel and Teas event, because that's when I came up with it. There's a couple changes I want to make. One of them was I wanted to upgrade Assistant Chaz. Well, I promoted him to supervisor, and I gave him a new Employee of the Month sign that's a little more fancy. And then I also gave him a new sign in the booth that says, all things are made from scratch, and it has a cat's paw scratching. So that was the big idea I had during my sleep deprivation with my event last time. So I implemented that for this one. That's one thing I did do. Another thing that I didn't implement yet is I want to revamp my mailbox. So I have a mailbox that I put flyers in that I painted. Again, if you haven't watched any of my other videos about it, I'll show you pictures and stuff. What I want to do now is put envelopes in there instead of just a flyer. The flyer will be in the envelope, and then there'll be other stuff in there as well. But it'll be more of a experience kind of thing, and it'll be a little more special. But then this goes back to also, I think it's my hesitation with it, is back when I made brochures, where I printed out brochures, and I designed them and I printed them out, and I had to print them out in a certain way, and I had to staple them all together and fold them and stuff, like this multi-page thing. And then people take it and then they don't do anything with it. It's going to be kind of the same thing, but the only thing with this is it at least gives me a little bit more of a way to show off my creativity with this, rather the brochure kind of, but it was mostly like me just typing things in. It wasn't me like designing it. So this is going to be more like hand done. And again, the amount of time you put in, if people are going to actually take it and actually use it, I don't know. I'm still working that out. And it might not be I don't know. I might not do the full version yet. I might just put them in envelopes for now, for the rest of this season, and then next season when I start again in the spring or summer next year is when I have time to work on that beforehand. Then I might do that. But anyway, it would have stuff like my flyer, a list of the events that I'm going to be, which I don't have that many left. I have some. I have one scheduled for next year right now. It's in the summer, in July, that I'm paid up for and already applied and, accepted and everything. So I have one on the agenda next year right now. I have ideas for others, but I haven't, applied or paid for those yet. And I don't want to talk about that right now. Let's not go there right now. I think I might do the envelope with the flyer in it instead, because it helps. like contain them a little better too, and it is a little bit more of an experience. But the full version, like I want a flyer, the events I'm going to be at, maybe some kind of coupon or discount, a way for people to sign up for my email list right from there, more of a, like, maybe a QR code to a video explaining what I do and stuff like that, and more information about what I do, basically all in that envelope. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff for people to just throw away, which I feel like is what's going to happen, because that's what happens to all my stuff. I'm still thinking about it, but the envelope idea, definitely, I want to try to do something with that, because it, like I said, it contains it better, because right now the flyers get all kind of curled up in there, and they're all getting kind of, like they don't look as good anymore. Plus the flyers are now kind of got out of date, and I have to work on that, basically. So I didn't do that for this event. Hopefully for at least next weekend for sure, but I'd like to do it for Kohl's as well, the one on Wednesday coming up. So in a couple of days. So I'm going to work on that. Then, what else? I had to remake some of my signage, because I think I started talking about this because I changed the prices about stuff. So I had to I don't know if I talked about this in my last video or not. I might have. My printer, my home printer, since we got new internet, which was a couple weeks ago, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't connect to my computer. And I tried taking the software off my laptop, and it's an Apple. And now that I did that, I can't re-upload the software because my iOS, like it's not designed for my iOS, but it was working before, so I don't understand what the problem is. So anyway, but my husband has been able to, on his computer, he has a Windows, he was able to connect it with a USB cord to the printer, and it'll print that way. We just can't get it on the network working, so it's kind of a pain. But I was able to print out my assistant Chaz signs with my husband's laptop before this event. But anyway, for my price signs is what I'm talking about. I had to remake all those, and I made them by hand, and it's something I wanted to do anyway, and it's something I still want to like update, because they're not the greatest. I made them like very quickly, and I like to update them, but what I have so far is better than what I had before anyway. So slow upgrades, but I'm gonna have to redo it again. Hopefully, I'm gonna get that done again by next weekend, because I'm not gonna need them. Well, I might need them, because I'm thinking about the Kohl's event and how I only have a table. I'm probably not gonna need all my signs. You know, I'm not gonna have room for all that, so I'm probably just gonna have like a price list or something there instead. So I probably won't have to worry about that for the Kohl's one. But for the next weekend, the one I really want to impress at, because it's my big event, and I gotta talk about that one. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still talking about my event I just did. I know I'm kind of mixing everything in there. But anyway, I started remaking my signs, and I have example pictures. All my stuff is in the garage right now because my husband had to take my van today. That's why he's gone, and I was able to film. He and his mother went to her house to start working on stuff over there, because they're gonna have to sell the house eventually and stuff. Whatever. lots of going on, like I said, but they're gonna be gone for a few hours, so I was able to film this and do other stuff. But we just quickly like moved all the crap out of my van into the garage right now, and it's all in a mess, and I'm not, that's something I can do like when they're here. So I'll probably do it either later tonight or tomorrow after they get home tonight, or tomorrow when my husband's at work. But it's stuff I can do. Filming is not something I can do when they're here very easily. So that's why I'm doing this now. But anyway, all my new signage is out there, so I can't grab it. So, I mean, I actually went out there and I tried to find it, but I'm like, oh, it's buried somewhere, forget it. I'll just show pictures. But anyway, so I made new signage. And the thing I did about these, again, they're handmade, and I wrote, like, I kind of made my signs kind of sell it for me. Like, I have stuff on there, like, why you would buy this. Like, the two-sided small signs, for example, I had, like, I don't remember word for word, it's on the screen. Something like, you can celebrate 2 holidays and seasons in one. Like, you can just flip it over. You know, great value. You know, I put stuff like that on there to try to sell them to people. And honestly, there were still some people that didn't understand that they were two-sided. Because I've been on all my signs that I've had for those and other things that are two-sided. Some people get it and some people don't. And every one of them said they were two-sided. Flip them over. They got something on the other side. People don't read signs though, you know. I know. I used to work in pricing in a grocery store. I know. No matter how fancy you make them, fancy and clear you make them, like eye-catching and concise and clear, still people don't read them. But some people do. You get more people when you get better signs. So, like I said, I still want to visually fix these. Like I made them very quickly, like I said. So I'm going to work on that for the next Saturday. Like I said, I don't think I need them for Wednesday, the Kohl's event. But the one in Kohler is the one next Saturday, Kohler, Wisconsin. That one I want to really work on stuff for. And hopefully by the end of this video, I'll have more update about what I did and everything for that one. And hopefully I'll have a good news at the end of that one too. But anyway, let's talk about the one I'm supposed to be talking about right now more. The layout for this one, so I had 10 by 10 space. The last event I did was similar, but it was an 8 by 6 space. This I did like a similar layout, but I had more space to expand. So I have my big pegboard, which is a beast. Well, the other thing about this one too, okay, so it was in a gym, like a school gym, and they were very adamant about like in all the prep and everything for this. Like, make sure you have rubber feet on all your stuff. We don't want to ruin the gym floor. You got to make sure everything's covered. So I had to run out and get like a rug pad to put underneath some stuff, like my pegboard. My pegboard has these little like stopper things on one side, but they're plastic. They're not rubber. And yeah, so I wasn't going to be able to like do... Really? No one checked. Really. No one said anything about my pegboard either when I was bringing it in. I was worried that someone was going to stop me and be like, hey, do you have rubber feet on there? You know, and I'd be like, oh, I put a rug down. It's fine. You know, I was worried I was going to have to like tell someone when I was bringing it in. No one said anything. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe I prepped too much for this. Because I also, when I was looking at other people, I'm like, some of those don't look like they have rubber feet. You know, some of those tables and shelves and stuff people brought in. Like, I was following the rules and making sure I had everything covered and everything. That was part of because I ended up setting up this one myself too, because again, my husband's with he had other stuff to do, but he was also with his mother, my mother-in-law. But he had to like do the fall leaves and stuff on Saturday too. So that's why he wasn't there. And I said, I'm fine doing it myself, but I'm just saying, doing it myself with all the rubber and everything, I was able to get everything done in the amount of, like, I had plenty of time afterwards, because it was only, the event started at 9 a.m. We couldn't come until 7 a.m. to set up. So 7 a.m. It was supposed to be from 7 a.m. to 8:30, and you were supposed to be ready by 8:30, and I was with plenty of time. But I think also, like, if I hadn't had my product up by 8:30, I think I would have been fine, just as long as you have your booth set up. By the way, there was people that came in at like 8:30. Like 8:30, and we're still setting up. So again, I'm the one following the rules, but okay, whatever. So, this reminded me, before I forget, because I did want to talk about this. I know I'm going all over the place, I'm sorry. So I put a backdrop up behind my checkout stand, which was in the front right corner. You're going to see that on the layout. I might have shown you already. I put my backdrop up behind me because I don't like having my checkout stand open. Like, I like having the back. So I put my backdrop up, which is the first time I've used that at an event. I was going to use it at my last one, but it didn't fit. There was no way that was going to fit. This time it fit. So, but I had to put rubber underneath all the stands and everything too. But anyway, it's the back of my backdrop. The people next to me who came in late, but they came over and asked me, hey, would you mind if we hang our sign from your backdrop? And I was like, oh, that's fine, no problem. Like, I'm not using the back of it anyway, you know? So I just wanted to mention that as like getting to know your vendor neighbors and being nice to each other. And I've done it before too, where people, like, one of my very early events that I did, there was this lady who didn't have like a tent to hang off, like something off her. I don't remember the reason why exactly, because I think she had a tent, but she asked if she could use my tent to hang up some of her stuff because she didn't have room or something. I'm like, oh, go ahead, I'm not using it anyway, you know? So, not that I got anything from it, you know, I mean, other than them being nice to me. Like, they didn't buy anything from me, they didn't take my card or anything, but that's fine. she was friendly and everything. And like I said, didn't mind. I even gave them a clip that they could use in the middle because they didn't really have the right kind of thing to hang it up. So I clipped up, and they gave me my clip back afterwards and stuff. It's not like they stole it or anything. But I'm just trying to say, like, you know, general, be hospitable to your neighbors. I even said too, because I was kind of worried when they came in, because they weren't there at first. And then I was like, well, I don't have to worry about it. I was worried that like my pegboard, the one half of my pegboard and the stand was going to be like kind of in their space. So I said, like, when they asked me, I'm like, hey, am I intruding your space at all? And they're like, oh no, don't worry about it, which I probably was. So it kind of like, it was, you know, like, oh, you can take some of my space, but can I use your backdrop, you know, kind of thing. So again, not every neighbor, I've never had a bad one, I didn't say, but I've heard horror stories. Not every fellow vendor is nice, but be the nice vendor is what I'm trying to say. The nice neighbor to your fellow vendors. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about that before I forgot, because I have a feeling I would have forgot if I didn't talk about it. Because I don't have notes today. So layout wise, again, I had my pegboard against the bottom, like back right, like along the back, and then the right, and then there's a little corner in the middle. Kind of like last time, except this time there was a little more space on the back. And then I had my backdrop behind the checkout stand, which was in front of that area, the pegboard. And then I was able to get, I was worried about it at first because I brought my 6-foot and my 4-foot table, and I was able to get both of them in there. I was worried about it at first with the pegboard and everything. I was like, I don't know, should I have all 3 of them in there? It was a little cramped, but it worked. The only thing I did, so I brought both of my benches for my 6-foot. I was originally going to bring only one, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to bring both because I need more space to display stuff. Well, I ended up not using the one that I put in front of my table. So I have my 6-foot table normally when I use all of this. I have my 6-foot table, and then I put a 6-foot bench on top of the table, so it's kind of taking up part of the top of the table, which is kind of an issue, but it adds height. So I have that. Then I usually put a bench in front of the table too, so I have like 3 tiers of space to put stuff. I took the front one out this time because with the space between the table and my checkout stand, putting a bench there would have been too skinny. People wouldn't want to come in there at all, and there were people that did come in, so. Sometimes I wish I had more than 10 by 10 space. And I'm not making enough where it justifies me getting a double space, you know? I'm not even making enough to justify my 1 space. But spoiler alert, this time I paid, I'll get to explaining more, but this time I paid $40 and I made $41. I made $1 profit this time. Can you believe it? $1. I finally broke, and that was my goal. My number 1 goal for this event was let's sell $40 worth of stuff plus, and I did it. I had another goal where I was like, okay, let's double that then. Let's make 80. Let's see if I can double my booth. That didn't happen, but I got 41. And then I had a very lofty goal of let's break 100, which again, for this event, I haven't really talked about this, but I talked about this part. It was at a school, and not much. It was the first year they were doing it, for one thing. Not much interest from the public, like the Facebook event they have for it. I think it went up by the time of the actual event, but I looked the night before and it was like 20 some, I don't remember, 20 something said they were going, which probably a lot of those people were like me, because I said I was going because I'm there as a vendor. And then there were like 70 some interested or something. That's it. Like that's the generation, like the interest that was generated from it. It's also all right, you may not know what Holy Hill is. Holy Hill is well, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a very big Catholic church that's like kind of a tourist destination. And this school was nearby it, but it's also kind of in the middle of nowhere in a way. So there's a tourist destination that's kind of nearby, and there's stuff going around there. In fact, there's a farm that's near Holy Hill that puts on events throughout the year that I wasn't able to get in this year because it was all filled up already. And I'm looking at it for next year. We'll see if I can get into any. They have a big like vendor event going on around that area not that week, not this weekend, the one that we did, not the weekend that we did this event, but sometimes they have one there. There apparently was one I heard about at another Catholic church in the area actually was doing one. I think that's the one that was being talked about. There was a bigger event that was going on the same day, which people were like, well, maybe they'll be in the area and they'll see signs for this one too and they want to come, crowd wise. What I'm trying to talk about is the crowd. So I wasn't expecting a lot. I was actually expecting another 0 with this event, and I actually broke my goal, my record. Not my record, but record in the sense that I finally got my fee back at an event. Not that it makes up for all the other fees that I didn't get back, my $1, but I finally, for this event, it was worth it, and if you would have asked me ahead of time, I was not expecting it to be worth it. I was expecting it to be another dud, but I made $41. So it goes back to, it's really hard to judge like which one's good, because normally these smaller ones I don't do good at. And this one was very small. But it's closer to the holidays too. There's just so many factors. It's hard. I really didn't think I was going to talk this much about this event. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I got interrupted. My husband was calling. But anyway, now I don't remember exactly where I was. The crowd, I was talking about the crowd, I know. Yeah, I was not expecting this to be as lucrative as it was. And the first couple hours it wasn't. And then I made a sale in like the 11 o'clock hour because it started at 9, like I said. So like near the end of the 11 o'clock hour, I made a sale. And that one was $12. And after that one, I was like, okay, I got a sale. I think I can get, if I can sell one of my big door hangers, which I did later, by the way, and one of my magnets, I could make just enough to get the 40 then. I was starting to calculate like, okay, this and this, that'll get me 40. I just have to sell one of those and one of those. I can do it, So I was starting to kind of calculate. So then the next customer I had, and those were the next two, I had 2 customers after that. They were both in the 12 o'clock hour. And again, this went until 2. So the beginning was slow and the end was slow. But the middle, I got one young lady. I think she was like an adult, but I think, just barely. I don't think she was like a student or anything like that there. She bought one little thing from one ornament, but there was 2 with her. Like one bought something, but there's 2 young ladies in the booth, and they were both like, oh, this is so pretty. And, well, anyway, she bought an ornament and very complimentary. Oh, this is, gorgeous or whatever. Then it was, I had 16. Then later on, there was a woman, well, let me go back to the first one for the 12. She bought 2 of my small signs, which was 8, 2 for 8, because I raised the price of those 2. They used to be 4 or 2 for 6. Then I raised them to 5 or 2 for 8. So she bought 2 and that was $8. And then she bought one ornament single for $4. So that was 12. Then someone else bought another ornament. So that was 16. And then the last lady bought a big door hanger. And it was actually the one that I thought wouldn't sell because it was the oldest one. It was the one that I'm like, I'm probably going to have to use that one and remake it. Someone bought it. So I'm not, like the rest of them, I'm not as worried about because I thought that one wasn't ever going to sell. And it did. So sometimes people surprise me. But anyway, the other thing I was going to say is, so I raised the price of those. I think I mentioned that earlier. They're now 25. They used to be 20. If I didn't raise the price, I wouldn't have got my fee back. So there you go. Worked out. So because both my small signs and my big one, since I raised the prices of those, I got my fee back. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe I should have just raised my prices. But anyway, so I made my fee back. So this is the first time it's happened. So that goal has been achieved, that overall goal. I made my fee back. Now the next, again, the Kohl's one I have 0. If I make any money, I'm making my fee back. And I'm already breaking even on that one. So like I said, I don't know what the catch is there. We're going to find that out. But if anyone buys anything on Wednesday, I'm already making a profit, which helps me make up for all the stuff I didn't make a profit at the rest of this year, the early part of this year. The next one on Saturday, let me start talking about that one. So in the preparation for this event, this one, the one I just did yesterday, the 15th, the one I just was talking about, when I was prepping for that event during that week, in preparation for this last week, I got an email where they're like, oh, you're accepted to this event. And I'm like, what? I completely forgot about that one. I remember looking at it. I didn't remember that I had completed the application and sent it in. Like, I thought I had just kind of looked at it and been like, oh, maybe not, you know. So I did. And I didn't write it down anywhere, like, oh, keep this date open in case they say yes or whatever. So last week I'm like, oh, crap. And I had to like look up, like, when is that? You know, am I still available? And I am next weekend. I didn't have anything planned. So I'm off to Kohler, Wisconsin next weekend. So, but that one was 100, and it is a bigger festival. So like it's at a school too, but it's a thing they've done. I don't know how many years, but it's an annual thing. It's definitely happened like a couple years in a row. Like, this is not the first year. And it's also the same day as they have like other stuff going on in the city. Like, this is another like small town in Wisconsin, and they have like other stuff going on in the city the same day. Like, it's a big holiday shopping day, and they have a shuttle that you can take from all 3 places that are going on. So it means a lot of competition too, but it also means like a big deal. Like, a lot of people are coming there. I want to shop for Christmas gifts and, you know, that kind of thing. So that's why I really for this one, because it's the biggest one I have for the holiday season. The rest of them are small, including the ones I'm doing in December. So this is like the chance I have to make any money. like potentially, like, you know, have a lot of people come through my booth and like sell me out, hopefully. But then I'm going to have to make more stuff, but I have time because I don't have another event until December. So I don't think I have any more like that I forgot I applied for, you know. Maybe I do. But anyways, I'm looking at this as my big chance now, like to make sure I have and I do also, because the last 2 events, I made some money and I sold some things at this event, but I only sold, well, 2, 3, 4, 5 things technically out of my inventory for this event. And my last event, I didn't sell any, but both of them, I was adding to my inventory. So I have a good amount of stuff I would like to add on to for next weekend. Now, the challenge for next weekend, that's again going to be the last one I talk about in this video. I have to figure out where to put everything because the door hangers are like a blessing and a curse, because when they get sold, it's like, oh, that's a big ticket item. I'm getting a lot of money for it. Yay. But they take up a lot of space. And if they don't sell, then I'm stuck like taking them every time, you know, to every event. And that's another reason why I wanted to sell them. So hopefully at this event, I sell a bunch of the ones that I have left. The rest of them are very generic. Like, they're just welcome. No, there's one that isn't. One small one, but there's 2 small ones and 3 big ones left that are all like the floral with either welcome or home sweet home on them. The one small one I have is welcome to our neck of the woods, which I already sold one like that, so I decided to make another one because I still had one left. So hopefully that one sells again too, the next one I made. But where am I? But they take up so much space, especially now that I have the pegboard instead of my tent, because I don't have it. I don't think I can bring a tent to this one. Let me see if I have the info. I'll look it up real quick. Prior years have seen approximately 2,200 shoppers at our event. That's a lot. It's also a long event. It's from 9 a.m. to 4, I think, which is like 7 hours. Yeah, 9 a.m. to 4. I assume because it's going to be in a school that I can't bring a tent, which is fine. And I don't see any pictures of anything, so I'm going to assume that it's not bringing a tent, but that's fine, like I said. So it's going to be a similar type of space that I have. I might do some changes to the layout if I can. I'm trying to decide, because I didn't mention this, I brought both checkout stands, so I'm going to have like an L shape for the checkout. Well, actually like this, so that like this is the walkway where people were walking and then they'd walk in this way. So I'd have like something here, and then I have my one checkout stand here, one checkout stand here. Then I had my backdrop back here, and I was sitting here. And then my pegboard was like there. And I did that instead of bringing my smaller tables, like my aluminum camping tables that are kind of versatile with the height and everything, because those are kind of, especially when you have them higher, they're not very stable. And I ended up not bringing my vending machine to this one. Like I said, if I was going to bring my vending machine, I would put it on my checkout stand now, which frees up some space on the tables, which is how I had it this time. And what I ended up doing was putting my small signs on the 4-foot table that I had in the back, which, here's the thing too, for this layout on this event that I just did, I was originally going to have the 4-foot table in front and the 6-foot table in back. But when I initially brought my stuff in, I was having second thoughts of having the 4-foot table at all, and I actually did take it back to the car, and then I brought it back. So I was just going to have the 6-foot with the benches on its own. And then I decided at the last minute to move. I was moving the 6-foot table closer to the front because it was kind of ridiculous where I had this space in front with nothing there. So I'm like, okay, I'll bring the 4-foot back in, and I put the 4-foot back behind instead of moving, because it was hard to move because the rubber feet that I had to put on, I had these little rubber pads to put everything on, and it was hard to move anything afterwards, and I didn't want to scrape anything along the ground or anything. And again, I could have asked someone, I suppose, but I didn't have anyone to help me, so it was just me kind of scooting things along, and I didn't want to move it again. So I ended up leaving the 6-foot in front and then putting the 4-foot in back. But the problem with that is the 6-foot is already more wide than the 4-foot. And then if I put the bench in, which I didn't put the bench in front, that's where it gets kind of like, it's really narrow to get through, especially when I have my checkout stand out there. So I didn't really test it because it still would kind of be an issue if I had my bench there in the back with the 4-foot in front. So I'm trying to think ahead about the layout for the next one. Probably just not going to bring the second bench again and just do kind of similar to what I did, but probably still put the 4-foot in front this time rather than the back. But anyway, on that one I had, and you probably saw in the pictures, I had my 2 collection of small signs, a little like stands that I have, but there's so much more room on that table that I could put more stuff on too. And I could also possibly bring one of my small aluminum tables and put that out a little bit from the 4-foot table. But I could do it where I could put it underneath the 4-foot table more, and it would fit under there. Because with the 6-foot bench, it doesn't go underneath the table really. Like it's the legs are in the way because it's the same length. So I might be able to do that where I can add another tier of space to put stuff on. So I might do that instead of having the bench. And then I have a little bit more room to put stuff, you know. Plus I want to bring my rack too, which is going to be another thing where I'm going to, like, where am I going to put that, you know? I could make it work, but it's going to be kind of difficult. Anyway, I'll worry about that when I get there. I think that's all I have to say about this event. I think I covered everything. They're really, when I initially thought about making this video, I'm like, oh, this will be quick. I won't have a lot to say, but I might cut some of this out because some of it's probably relevant to the other events later, and I'll probably talk about it again when I get there. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say. And if I remember anything, I'll make sure that I make a note of it, and I'll talk about it later when I talk about the Kohl's event in a couple of days. So, see you then. All right, welcome back. Welcome back for me. I'm in my van. I can't really film inside right now because of the thing I mentioned earlier in the video with my mother-in-law living there. And, well, today my husband was supposed to be at work, but he is back working from home because he had some stuff he had to take care of with his mother. So, the house is full right now and I can't really film inside, and I would like to get this out tomorrow because I'm filming this on Tuesday, November 25th, talking about the other events I did last week, the Kohl's event and then the holiday event that I did on the weekend. So that's what I'm going to talk about, but I can't do that right now because there's all kinds of chaos going on in the house. So normally I have time to myself that I do this. You know, I don't have that right now. So we're going to do the little unconventional today with the rest of this video. It's how I've been doing my vlog videos too, which again, I mentioned earlier in this video. Well, the vlog 12 is the one that I talked about the behind the scenes of the next two events that I'm going to talk about, which were last week. Like I said, I had a Kohl's corporate event last Wednesday, and then I had a big holiday event in Kohler, Wisconsin, kind of similar, which is like a little over an hour away from me, so it's a bit of a drive. I'll talk about that when I get there. But that one was last Saturday, and now this is Tuesday. So I'm a couple days out now, so I hope I don't forget anything. I'm going to try to talk about everything. But I did talk a lot more about those things too in my vlog 12 that I was talking about. So my vlog channel, my vlog number 12 is the one I talked about both of these events in, because I've been doing one of those a week now. I used to do 3, but because I don't have time to film right now, like I said, but it should be going back to normal next week, because my mother-in-law is going to be moving into her new place, and my husband will be working certain days out of the house, so I'll be able to get stuff done while he's gone, you know. So I temporarily have issues, but we'll get back to normal soon, I promise. Okay? Anyway, so the Kohl's event, I ended up not making any more product for it, because I was trying to focus on just getting things done, organizing. And I was really trying to focus more on the weekend event that came afterwards. That's the next one I'm going to talk about. I wanted to make more product for that one because I was hoping that it would be more holiday themed, and it would be more of an opportunity to sell things. We'll get to that when I get there. And I did make more product for that, but I'll talk about that when I get there, like I said. But for the Kohl's one, I didn't make any more product. The challenge was for this one, well, there were a couple, but the main one was trying to get everything displayed in my tiny spot, which, looking forward to my next event, going to be kind of similar. So I might do something similar with the layout, but I'm not quite sure. But that's not what this video is about. That's going to be on the next video. But I'm just saying that event, I have a 6x6 space, so which is kind of similar to what I had for Kohl's. So I'm probably going to do something similar, I think, because I'm going to have my pegboard, which I was allowed to bring. I said that earlier in the video. I was allowed to bring my pegboard, because originally they were like, well, we'll give you a table and a tablecloth, and you just display your stuff on the table, and that's all you get. But if you want to bring something extra, you can. So I asked, can I bring my pegboard? And they're like, sure, you can bring your pegboard. So I was able to bring my pegboard. And what I did was basically put it behind me. So I sat or stood. I had a chair, but sometimes I stood up behind my table, and then behind the table. You got pictures I can show you, but I kind of put my pegboard around me. Now, as far as that goes, just talking about that real quick, they had me against a wall, which I originally was going to use the wall to put my pegboard up behind me, but there was an emergency exit right next to me, to the left of me, like if I was standing, or if you're looking at it, it was to the right of me, and I, didn't want to block that, and I didn't really ask anyone, so I ended up just kind of putting most of my pegboard on the left side, or the left side of the booth as you're looking at it, and then putting whatever I had left here, so that there was still like an aisle to get to the emergency exit to the right of me. Again, if you're looking at the booth, or behind me, you could still go behind me too, to the emergency exit. So I didn't want to block that, so I had to kind of shroud myself around, like the pegboard around me. And I had a couple people comment like, oh, you're in your little nest over here, and you could have put it against the wall. And I'm like, no, actually I can't. There's an emergency exit there. Like, you can't. I mean, I could have put it against the wall, but I didn't have that much space because it's so big. I didn't have like the flat amount of space. Plus, I have stuff protruding out of there. So if people are running by there to get to the emergency exit, like, they're probably going to run into it. I mean, they probably would run into it anyway, but at least they wouldn't get poked, because the hooks wouldn't be on that side. It would probably fall down, but I was trying to think ahead, trying to like be conscientious of the emergency exit there. And no one said anything to me as far as like the people in charge. It was just other vendors or the like associates who came in, who were the customers. I'll get to that more about that in a minute. they kind of said, oh, you're kind of like stuck back here in your little nest, like you're surrounded or whatever. Not that anyone was mean about it. They just kind of like commented, and I'm like, yeah, well, so that was kind of weird. Like it was a tight space to kind of, but I was only there for 2 hours as far as like the selling time. I was there a little longer technically because setup was from 2 to, oh my goodness, 2 to 4, I guess. When did it started at 3. Okay, 2 to 3 setup was, and it went from 3 to 5. That was the hours. And I could get there at 1:45, but I got there right on time. They were kind of saying in the emails ahead of time, like, if you get there early, like, we may not be ready for you. You have to wait until 1:45, and there may not be parking and whatnot. Or you might have to like drive around or find somewhere to park and then come in or whatever. Because this was at a corporate office, like I said. So, and they have like security and stuff when you come in. So I got there right on time. There is a loading zone, like where we came in, like it was the south lobby or whatever. There was a loading zone there, but like people were already there when I got there because they got there early. So, like, because the email was kind of not really, like, it was because I was like, oh, I shouldn't get there early because, I might not have anywhere to park or whatever. But there were people that got there early and then got in the loading zone. But I was lucky. I found, like, right, because the loading zone was, like, at the buildings here, the loading zone, and then the parking lot where we were supposed to park afterwards anyway. So I found a spot very close in the parking lot. I just parked there right away because we were supposed to park there after we were done loading anyway. So I found a close spot in the parking lot and just parked there, and I unloaded from there because the loading zone was all taken up anyway. So I would have had to wait for that. So I just parked in the parking spot right away. The nice thing about this is I didn't have a whole lot of stuff. I did have the pegboard, which is very big and bulky and annoying to bring in and out, but it's worth it because I need it, especially for my door hangers. I have nowhere else to put those. But all my other like large signs too, like I don't, especially if I'm going to have one table, I have nowhere to put those, So that's why I wanted to bring it. But anyway, so I had that, and then just like my tabletop displays and all my product to bring in. So it wasn't that bad as far as load in and everything. And they had people there helping out, like holding doors and letting people in, because there was, I think they opened it up eventually, but there was a part where you had to kind of scan a card to be able to come in or whatever. So they had someone there, like letting people in, and that was nice. Everyone like that worked there and was very helpful and friendly. And like the people that were like helping set up and stuff like that, especially, but even the customers as associates were pretty friendly. Mostly, there was one that I had that was kind of like, I'll talk about that in a minute. But the rest of them, I'll talk about the people in a little bit. But as far as setup goes, like I had no problem getting done in time. I mean, it was a smaller setup. What I ended up doing. And I don't know if I showed you the pictures already or if I'm going to show you them now. I might show you again if I did. I ended up rising both of my those white stacker kind of things. I don't know what to call them. Like that I normally have my small signs in. Sometimes my ornaments. In fact, I did have my ornaments in this one because I didn't hang them on my pegboard. I put them in there instead. So I had small signs on one side and ornaments on the other with those. And then I had them rised up with my little risers, my little crates. Like I have a big crate too, which I also brought, but then I have these smaller narrow ones that I use to kind of step things up if I need to. So I did that, and I ended up doing that at my next event too. I'll talk about that when I get there. But it's actually a good way to give me a little more space to display, because now I have too many small signs to fit in that thing. I have to have a couple on the outside if I don't use both for the small signs. So I was able to do that where I had small signs in there, and then I could stack them up around like the crate that raised it up, and I did that at my next event too with those. But I also, in the next event, I used the other one for my Christmas tree signs, which I'll get to when I get there. But those were the same thing where I was able to like bring it up a little, put the ones inside and then put some in front. so that they could be displayed because they were risen up, I think, so that, you know, you could see. Sorry, I think I'm getting sick too, which is great. I'm going to try to cut out as many coughs as I can. Anyway, where am I? So I did that, and then I had my magnets in the front on my little magnetic pegboard thing that I have, and then I had my crate behind it, and then on top of the crate I had my 2 Chaz signs, my employee of the month and his like everything's made from scratch sign that I just made for my last event, and the one I talked about before this. And then like inside the crate behind, I could put my cash and stuff, like all my back office type stuff, because I didn't have my checkout stand, which I normally put that stuff in, so I did it that way instead. So as far as setup goes, that was that. If there's anything else to add when I add the picture in, I'll do that in voiceover, but I think I said everything. I mean, I had like the door hangers hung up behind me, the bigger signs and stuff like that were all hung up behind me on the pegboard, and then all the smaller stuff was on the table, basically. As far as the event goes, so I paid nothing, and I ended up making $18, so that was an $18 profit. Now, I was kind of expecting more, like I was hoping I would make more, that I would kind of gain more in the profit, you know, because it was zero, but that didn't happen. I had interest in other things, like some of my door hangers and stuff, that, again, if people buy those, then that really puts up my total, because they're more expensive, you know. But anyway, that didn't really happen. I did make a few small sales. The one big thing that I sold was my framed welcome sign, my light colored wood with flowers and welcome. That sold for $15. So I got one of those sold now. I only have one of those left now. It's the neck of the woods one that I have, of the framed variety. But for now, I don't have any more. I'm not sure if I'm going to do those next year, like when I sell out of these, or if I sell out of these. Otherwise, I'll try to sell them next year too, but I'm probably not going to make more, I don't think, because they take a long time to sell. I don't know. I have to kind of decide next year what I'm doing, but right now, I'm not planning on getting more of those. They do sell eventually, and they do, like, they are liked, but they don't sell fast enough, I guess. Maybe if I start selling them online too, that's a different thing, but we'll see when I get there, okay? that's next year. We'll worry about that then. The one lady I was mentioning earlier, since I'm talking about the door hangers, she came up and she was looking at those, and she was like, "Do you have any Christmas ones?" And I'm like, "No, I don't right now." And she was like, "Well, if you had Christmas ones, I would buy one," you know, and that was kind of like her tone and everything. And then she kind of walked away, because I was going to say to her, if she wasn't this way, like, "Hey, if you want one, I can make one for you. Like, I can make a Christmas one for you. I just don't have any available right now. Like, everything I make is unique." And I had a Christmas one earlier that I tried to sell. I mean, I know it wasn't Christmas at the time, but it was left over from last year, and I was trying to sell it, and people weren't like even like looking at it or commenting on it or buying it. So I ended up sanding it off and then making a welcome sign or something on it instead, which is more, you know, more generic and more useful throughout the year, you know. Now I don't have any blank ones left, and I'm not planning on buying any more unless I get a custom order. Not until next year. So that's why I didn't have any, you know, and I didn't get a chance to say all this, obviously. Like I said, she was kind of like, her tone, like I said, was like, "Well, do you have any Christmas ones?" "No." "Well, if you did, I would buy one." "Okay, well, I don't. Like, what do you want me to do?" Like, you know, and then she kind of walked off, like I said, and I didn't say anything to her after she said that. I kind of like, okay, smiled, and she left, you know. Like, I wasn't rude back. Well, I don't think so. I mean, maybe she thought I was rude, but I don't know. But anyway, so that was the one kind of like snooty lady that I had encountered. The rest of the people were, you know, usually nice. I mean, the ones that I talked to were nice. They're in general, so I'll talk about the crowd in general next. So this was, like I said, a private event for their employees. That's all that was there. It wasn't like people from the public were coming in. It was people that worked there. So I was kind of unsure about how that would go, but since it was a holiday event, I thought, okay, well, people are buying things for the holidays, like they're giving their employees a chance to buy gifts for people, or if they want something for themselves or whatever. So that's who was the customer here, were employees. Now the problem with that is, well, okay, so it was 2 hours long. The first hour was like constant people, like it was just like the room was full of people, and I didn't know how this was going to work either. Like, I'm assuming now in hindsight what happened was that these employees were given like the time off after like their last couple hours off of work, and it was kind of a social time for them, and they could go, like they have a bar somewhere nearby, like on site, where they do like extra, when they do events like this, I think they can get drinks and stuff, because there's people walking around with drinks, you know, most of them were, and whether that was like coffee or I did see alcohol, but also like, you know, like sparkling water and stuff. Like they had all kinds of stuff. But it was very social for these employees, which, you know, good for them. You know, I'm glad they're having a good time. But like the problem with that is what I noticed throughout the whole thing, because like I said, the first hour was very busy, but the second hour was less busy. Like there was less people around, because I think like most of them had left by that point, you know, or they had gone somewhere else to socialize, whatever. I don't know if they could leave or whatever. I don't know the parameters here, because I think, and I guess I should have said this in the survey. I didn't really say this. I said some other stuff because they sent me a survey afterwards, like, how do you think it went and whatever. And I said mostly good, but, you know, there's a couple of things I would change. I could have said this too, I guess, because I wasn't sure if this is the way it was going to be, where they're like, there's structured times. Like someone, like this group comes in the first half hour, and then this group comes in the second half hour, and then the third half hour and the fourth, because there's 2 hours. I think that might be better, because like everyone, like most people were there the first hour, and they were just like, there was crowded. And what I was getting to also is, because they're coworkers, they work together all the time, they got their own little cliques and friendships and stuff. I noticed a lot of like groups of coworkers that were kind of like talking to each other more than looking at product. Like they were just kind of socializing, and they kind of glanced, but then they didn't really, or maybe like if they were alone, or if they were paying more attention, you know, they would pay more attention. They would kind of engage more with us, the vendors. And, you know, it's kind of like, if you caught someone on impulse, maybe they would buy something, but otherwise they were just kind of there to like talk to their friends. And then like, because, and this is a general thing, when people get into groups, like they tend to, like there's like peer pressure and stuff like that, or they just get distracted. You know, they're not, whereas if they're there themselves, they may like, again, pay more attention to their surroundings in particular, but also like, because you're there to shop, you know. But if you're there to socialize and we're telling a joke and, oh, I saw something but I forgot because, you know, we're doing something else. So they were just kind of, that's what was going on basically, is everyone was walking around talking to each other. Sometimes they'd look at stuff, you know, they'd come up as a group, but also this thing with it being a group, like maybe when you're with like your group of friends, you see something you like, but then maybe it could also be like, maybe you want to buy something for that person, like a gift for that person, but they're there, so you can't, you know, right? Or, just in general, like if you're with your group of friends and you see something, oh, maybe my mom would like that, or maybe I like that, or whatever, but you're with your friends and you don't want them to comment on it or whatever, so you don't buy it. So that's kind of like the dynamic that was going on, where there was these cliques of people like moving from booth to booth, and sometimes not even really looking, just kind of talking to each other and drinking, you know, whatever they were drinking. They weren't all drinking alcohol, but like, you know, it was a very social thing for them, like I said. Whereas like I think that factored into like the fact that a lot of people weren't really paying attention, you know, or I mean, it wasn't everyone. There were people that were, and there were people that bought things from me. But like in general, especially that first hour when it was super busy, like it was very hard for people to like come up and talk to you and like look at your stuff. Like, especially if there was already someone there, or if there was a group of people, say, talking in front of your booth and no one else could like see what was going on. A couple times I want to be like, hey, can you guys like go out in the hallway or something and do that, you know, because there's people that are trying to look at my stuff, you know. So that's what was going on a lot there. So The fact that it costed nothing to be there, though, was good. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to get invited back for the next one that they do. Now, this apparently was the first, at least what I heard, was this was the first holiday one they did. Like, they have done a few others, apparently, before this that I didn't know about and I wasn't invited to because they didn't know about me. Like I said, it came from the lady who came through my booth at Fall at the Fairgrounds back in October. And she's the one who organized this whole thing, and she took my card, and she's like, oh, I'll contact you. I got events coming up. And I'll talk more about her in a minute, too, because I have something else to talk about her. But she... What was I going to say? But anyway, that's how I got invited to this one. So apparently there were ones before that I didn't even know about, because it's invite only, because... it's not for the public, so you don't really hear about this thing. I did post on my Facebook and Instagram, I think. Like, I was invited to a private event at Kohl's, and I'm honored to be here, and I posted a picture of my booth and everything, just to show, my product again. Maybe someone sees something they like and they comment me, or they DM me or whatever, Maybe wishful thinking, Didn't happen, but maybe someday. But anyway, so, I did that, but, like, I didn't want to advertise it ahead of time because it's, like, it's not for the public, so I don't want people just coming into the Kohl's campus and thinking they can come to my event because they can't. So I didn't advertise it, so no one else advertised it either. So you don't hear about this because it's, like, event only, invite only at this private event, So... I don't know when they do them during the year, other than the holidays. Like, the holidays make sense to me, because then it's like, okay, then maybe your associates want to buy something for the holidays. But when I'm there, like, a different time of the year, I'm not sure why they would buy from me, Especially if it's going to be the same thing where they're all distracted. Like, and they don't have, like, a reason necessarily to buy something. It's just, oh, you're here, maybe I'll take a look. Rather than if the holidays are coming up, that's a big gift-giving thing, so people start looking for more stuff. I don't know if I would do one other than the holiday one, is what I'm trying to say. But the only thing is, they don't cost anything. The booth fee is $0. And if they're still at $0 next year, whenever they happen, maybe I will do them. Just because, like, there's a chance, and I'm not paying anything to be there. I'm paying, I'm paying the time, I'm paying the gas, the materials, obviously. But I'm not paying the booth fee. So if I make anything, then it's profit, if you're factoring that only into your thing, which I have been doing with these events. But the thing is, any other time of the year, I'm not sure why anyone would do it. I don't know. And I don't know if I could, like, say, skip the next one and then still get invited back for the holidays. Like, maybe they'll be like, well, maybe you don't want to do it anymore, so I'm not going to bother you anymore, So I don't know. I'll worry about that when it gets there. I don't know when these supposedly happen, because this is the first one I've done. So, but anyway, all right, enough about that. I have 2 more things I know I have to say. I don't know if I have to say anything else, though. I'm trying to think. So, going back to the woman who discovered me, from Fall at the Fairgrounds and invited me. And so she came up, she was there when I got there and I was setting up, and she introduced herself, again, she's like, oh, you're Shannon from Strush Design. Yes, I remember you, whatever. And, like, shook my hand or whatever. So then during the event, she came up, and I think it was like the second hour when it was slower. She came up to me and she's like, well, how are things going? I'm like, oh, pretty good, And she's like, you do wedding signs and stuff too, right? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, do you find that, like, doing this stuff, like what I'm selling there, because it's not wedding signs, I don't remember how she phrased it exactly, like, sells better or whatever than doing wedding signs. And I'm like, well, yeah, because most people don't hire people to do their wedding signs. Like, that's part of my problem, is trying to get people to hire me to do it. Like, and most people don't think to do that. And I didn't say all this to her, but this is part of it too, where, like, I want to get into a wedding show, but they are very expensive to get into.
And I don't know how worth it's going to be because, like I said, people don't normally buy signs from people. They try to make them themselves, or they buy it on Etsy or something, which I don't do, and it's a whole other topic. I don't do Etsy. Etsy's a problem. But they don't think to go into like finding someone like that. And even when I'm going to go on a tangent here. When I did the signs for my cousin's wedding earlier this year in August, and she like advertised me and stuff when she thanked her vendors and stuff, and supposedly her photographer was supposed to as well, but I haven't seen that happen. But anyway, no one followed me from that, you know, to see what else I do or to possibly hire me or whatever. I mean, maybe there's a chance that someone at her wedding, because she's younger, one of them will get married and she'll be like, oh, I assume it's a she, but maybe it's a he because she's friends of both genders. But like maybe someone from her wedding will be like, who did you have to do your signs again? You know, and then she'll tell them. Maybe then, but like I even like specifically asked, like she had, I don't think I did it on her post. Maybe. No, I don't think I did on her post, but her mom, who's my aunt, my uncle's wife, technically, she's not blood related to me, but she had posted about it, and specifically about my signs, like, oh, I recommend her, because they both kind of hired me, you know, I recommend her to do your signs, you know, and she had advertised my stuff or whatever, and I commented on her post, and I was like, hey, you know, if anyone's interested, please follow me, I need more followers, you know, like, and you'll be reminded of the things I do and whatnot. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but like, still, like, you don't ask for it and people don't follow you, and then you ask for it and then like maybe one person follows you once in a while, but most of the time no. It's like, why can't people just follow, you know, like why? I don't get it. Like I do that, you know, I mentioned this in other videos in the series before, like if I like find a small business that, you know, does something I like, maybe I'm not ready to buy it yet, but I appreciate it, I follow them right away. You know, I don't like, oh, well, I don't need that, you know, like, I don't get the mindset. And I know I've said this before over and over again, but if this is your first video watching, well, you're getting a dose of it now. I know that not everyone is like me, like that, but I didn't realize until I was on the other side of it, how many people are not like me, you know, like I thought, maybe it was a minority and stuff, but there would still be people that do like me, or are like me, I mean, and then do like pages like that. Like, oh, I appreciate your art, let me like you. You know, I didn't realize how many people are not like me, I guess is the problem. And then the other problem is like, how do I capture those people? Because other people seem to be able to do it. Like, why can't I do it? So it's a whole other topic. Maybe I'll talk about that in a completely other video. I don't know. So that's the one thing I wanted to talk about with her. Like, it was like she in particular was someone who, but she didn't like my page. Like, I didn't notice her liking my page or anything either, but like, it's like she was kind of like studying me. Like, it seemed like she really wanted to meet me and connect with me at first. But since the event, I haven't like felt like that, you know. It's like, well, what did I do, you know? when I talked about the wedding signs not really being a thing, did you I don't know. But I was thinking maybe, it's wishful thinking, because she said not just weddings, but weddings and events. Like, maybe there's Kohl's events that are coming up where they want like a hand-painted banner or like a chalkboard or something like in my lettering for their event that they could hire me for. You know, maybe. I don't know. I guess I'll find out if she ever emails me about it. But that was the one thing I want to talk about there. The other thing is, so as we were all cleaning up afterwards, the vendor that was in front of me, she was a jewelry vendor. She started kind of chatting with me like, how did you do? I'm like, well, you know, I made some money and we didn't pay anything, so it was okay. You know, and she was like, yeah, but like I expected more, and like all of our time that we spent here. And I'm like, well, kind of with me, like 2 hours. I mean, with the setup time too is a little bit more, but like, you know, I've had events at 7 hours, like the one I did after this, or like 5 or 6 hours that I didn't sell anything at, or I sold barely anything at, you know, like I'm used to not selling much, you know. But anyway, so she was kind of discouraged. And I did see her making sales, and I think her stuff is a little more expensive because she has jewelry. Like, I feel like it probably was worth it for her. And she was being a little... Again, like, what is wrong with me that I don't know. Because I'm... Yeah, I don't... But it was just like, you know, we were both kind of like commiserating, whereas like, yeah, like I think it's the economy, like people aren't buying as much anymore. And I didn't do any holiday events last year. I did a few fall events last year and a couple, like a summer event. Well, no, it was more. Anyway, I didn't do any holiday events. So I don't know. I don't have that to gauge because I heard that holiday events typically tend to be better, and they are kind of better so far. I still got 3 in December. I'm doing smaller ones. But I think the general consensus when I like overhear or I talk to other vendors, like they're just not doing as much, even in the holiday season, and starting to question whether it's worth it and stuff like that. So I think I may have just started at a bad time. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's not just me, like it's other people are having trouble as well. I may be having more trouble because, you know, my things are very specific, and they're also very, like I said before, not in this video, but like they're kind of, in a way, I don't know how else to say it, they're kind of luxury, like they're kind of like extra, you know, and especially in a bad economy, people don't tend to buy this stuff that I make. And I'm trying to figure out like more practical things I can make. And the thing that we also said was, she said, and I noticed this too, like the food people, the people that sell food, they sell lots of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like maybe I should just sell food now instead. Like, but the thing is too, the food is like snacky food. It's not like needed food. Like it's not, it's like snacks. Like it's like people had brittle and stuff, or like there was one guy that had like jams and like hot sauce and stuff. Like, that's not necessarily needed. That's kind of extra. Like, oh, I want more flavor on my food, or, you know, I want the snack. Like, it's not like meat and potatoes and stuff like that, you know? But they're still making money. Like, people are still impulse buying on food, even when the economy's not good, you know? So, I don't know. But that was just a conversation I had after this event where we're all trying to figure out, like, man, I hope things get better next year, you know, because otherwise I'm not sure I'm doing this anymore, you know? Well, anyway, so that was that event. I don't think there's anything else I have to say, but if there is, I'll put a voiceover in. Moving on to the next event now, the one I did on Saturday. So this was, I forgot if I mentioned this earlier when I filmed. This one was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't know I was doing it until a couple weeks ago. Like, I think it was like a week and a half before the event was when I found out about it. Because I had applied. I kind of forgot that I applied for it is the problem. I remember looking at this event and thinking about applying for it and maybe starting the application, but I didn't remember that I actually applied for it. So I didn't write it down or anything. So then, surprise, you're in this event next Saturday. I'm like, oh crap, like I gotta do that too now. And I was kind of intimidated by it in a way because it was a bigger event, and it was good because I didn't have a big event for the holidays. This is my one big event that I had. And I guess because of that, I was expecting more too. So I ended up not making much money. I spent $100 on the fee, which was a surprise too. Like it came through, like as my application got approved, like my $100 came out of I'm like, oh crap, now I gotta make sure I get enough money for that, you know, like, so it was $100. I only made 20. So my momentum didn't carry on. I was hoping that after the event I had earlier where I had made $1 profit with the fee, and then I had the Kohl's event where I made 18 because I didn't have a fee. Then I was hoping that, you know, the momentum would keep going, but that was a tall order because it was like 119 I would need to like make more as a profit at least. And I was also calculating while I was at this event, like how much stuff do I actually have? How much could I sell technically? And I came up with $695 worth of stuff based on my prices. If people sold me out, I could sell $695 worth of stuff right now, today. And that's stuff that's ready made. That's not stuff that's custom or whatever. So I made 20. I had $695 worth of stuff. So, you know, basically I think I have enough stuff going now. My next event is the small one that I was talking about earlier, 6x6, but it's also cat themed. It's a cat rescue that's putting it on. So I do want to get a little more cat stuff for that event. But other than that, I don't think I'm going to make any more stuff unless I really get depleted at the next couple of events for the rest of the year. I'm just going to have what I have. But I'm going to focus on improving my booth from now on. But like I said, the cat theme, I do want to get more cat stuff for the cat event, you know, obviously. So, because I think maybe I might be able to get more sales that way, you know. So I do have some cat stuff already, but I'm going to get more cat stuff, more pet stuff in general, but cats especially at that event. So, but other than that, I think I'm done making product the rest of the year, at least ready-made product. If I get any custom orders for anything, that's different. But for now, I'm done making stuff for the rest of the year. Focus on that for next year. Whatever I have left over, whatever I want to start making for the next year. But yeah, I only made $20. I had interest in other stuff. So part of the problem here is, like I said, this was a big event. We had, I don't remember the exact number. If I figure it out, I'll put it on the screen. But it was something like 100 vendors just at our thing. And then, so this was at the high school in Kohler. And it was on Saturday. There was also a bigger event going on at this other place, like down the road. It's called the American Club. They apparently put it on every year, and it's a bigger event. And when I found out about it, I was like, oh, let me just see what it's like to be here. Maybe I'll do this next year instead. It's expensive to get into, and it's multi-day also. So because I think actually I overheard when I was at the Kohl's event, I heard someone say they were going to Kohler, and I think it was for the bigger event. And I think it started on either Thursday or Friday, and then it goes through the entire weekend. And this also is the weekend before Black Friday, so that's part of the thing too I'm going to talk about. But supposedly this is like a long-standing thing in the city of Kohler. Like, people know about it. I didn't know about it, but people do. Other people. But, so we had that event going on concurrently with ours. Ours was just on Saturday. Theirs is the whole weekend with like Thursday, Friday. And then there was also like a shop center in town, like a kind of a outdoor mall or strip mall or something. I didn't even look at it really. But it's called the Shops at Woodlake. So they had the Shops at Woodlake. They had the American Club event going on. And then they had our event going on as well. All at the same time that day. And like, it's a big holiday shopping thing for people, and people can drive into Kohler. They don't have to be from Kohler, you know. Like, again, if you know about it, it's probably something that people come to regionally. But there's also a shuttle that goes through all three that day. So not only do I have 100 people that I'm competing with in my own event, I have all these other people too that I'm competing with, because people are just shopping the whole day, you know. And if something doesn't grab people right away, and they're like, oh, I gotta have that right now, they might be like, well, I like that, but I might want to spend something else later somewhere else. Maybe I'll come back, you know. And I think I had a lot of that going on, because there were a lot of people commenting on my stuff like, oh, that's really cute, or that's really like the door hangers with the welcome, oh, those are beautiful, you know, but no one bought any. You know, and I think that's part of the problem. Also, again, in general, the economy, like, people aren't spending as much. They're trying not to do as much impulse buying, or, you know, and that's, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing for them, you know, that's good. But, it's really hard, especially for my type of business, to be selling things right now with the economy the way it is. So I have plans on, you know, pivoting. Not that I'm going to pivot fully and never do this again, but I have plans on doing stuff next year that aren't really this. I mean, I'm going to be doing this a bit next year, but not as much as I did this year. But that's a whole other topic for another time. This was a 10 by 10 space in a gym. Didn't have to worry about rubber at this event. They didn't say anything about it. So I didn't. And so for the setup, they had it where you could come Friday if you wanted to, from the night before, because this was Saturday event. But I didn't do that because, for me, because it's an hour away, and I don't know how many miles exactly, but, it was not only the time I'm spending, but also the gas money to be there Friday to set up stuff and then come back Saturday, or I'd have to stay in Kohler for the night, which I don't have money for either. And I can't do because of my cat, because my supervisor, I can't go anywhere because of my cat, not for very long. And we'll see how long he lives. Like, he's 19 now. Maybe by next year he might not be, so I might be able to do more with this. But that's a whole other topic too. But anyway, so the other time you could come in very early Saturday morning. You could come in at 6, which for me meant I had to leave at like 4:45 in the morning, which is what I did. And I actually, that night, woke up at 2:30 and I just stayed up. So I was up since 2:30 in the morning that day. And then I left at, 4:45 in order to get there in time, right when they opened at 6 a.m. to get my stuff set up, make sure I get done in time. Because they also said that you had to be set up by 8:30. That's 2.5 hours, which I had plenty of time. But you had to be set up by 8:30. Like, you can't go until 9. It starts at 9. Because we're going to come around and check, which I didn't even notice anyone doing that. But they're like, we're going to come around and make sure, like, nothing's in the aisles and it's a safety issue and stuff like that. So you had to be set up by 8:30. So I had plenty of time. But, I made sure I got there. I like to get there right away anyway. Also, so the other thing, so with setup. Well, first of all, I didn't like that for this event. They didn't give me a map ahead of time. They didn't tell me where my booth was. I found that out, like, when I got there. So I didn't have any idea ahead of time, like, if I could, maybe if I had, like, I know I didn't have a corner. I think they meant you had to pay extra for a corner or whatever. But if I knew, like, where I was or whatever, maybe I might put my booth differently. So I didn't know that ahead of time. They also didn't give you, like, any information about, like, parking or, like, how things were going to go. I mean, in general, they gave me a little bit of information, but not very much. So when I got there, I was kind of disoriented because the parking lot was really weird. Like, you drove in, like, you could only come in one way. And I guess, for a school, this is a good thing or whatever, but, like, you could come in one way and there was, like, a big divider in the middle of the parking lot. And then, like, you drove in and then, like, the loading zone was kind of, like, in front of the building. But I didn't want to park there when I first, because I was early too. I didn't get there right at 6. I got there like 5:50 or something. So I got there and I parked in the parking lot. Well, no, actually, I drove like kind of past the front of the school just to kind of see what was going on. But then when I got past the divider, like, I didn't want to park on that side because, like, I would have to, like, hop the curb to get back to the building with my wagon if I was going to do that. So I had to, like, drive. I had to go outside the parking lot, drive all the way around, come back in so I could be at the right side of the parking lot to be able to get into the building. It was really weird. But anyway, by the time, it opened at 6 o'clock, I ended up moving to the loading zone temporarily. And they had people, and they had mentioned this, they were going to have people to help unload cars and stuff, which I didn't really want, but I had them help me bring the pegboard in and the tables and stuff, and I'm like, I'll do the rest. I can handle it, because I was already kind of disorganized in my van. After the Kohl's event, I had kind of just thrown stuff in there, and because I got, like I said, all kinds of chaos going on in the background here. And when I loaded the rest, I just kind of, like, shoved it all in. Like, it wasn't as organized as I normally am. Like, it was kind of, in a way, embarrassing, but also, like, a pain, like, to have people to help me. Like, okay, well, here, let me get this for you and put it on your cart, and then I'll take a cart full, and then we'll both go in. And, like, so the nice thing was they also had people opening the doors for the school to get in. Well, at first, when I first started, they had 2 people where you could go through, because there's, like, 2 lines of doors. So you go through, like, both doors. They had someone open both doors, but at some point, the other one got called away to something or started helping with something else. So there was only one, like, person opening doors, so then I had to open the other door myself, or I had to wait for the person to open or whatever. So it's kind of a pain. But in general, in theory, and they did that at the Kohl's event I did too, where they had someone opening the doors and everything for you. That was nice. As far as bringing stuff in, like I could have just done that myself. It was kind of, but there wasn't that many people there at 6 a.m. So I'm like, I kind of felt like I had to give them something to do. So I'm like, okay, you can bring my tables in, you know. I'm more of a I'd rather do it myself person, you know. But in general, like in theory, it was nice to have that, you know. It was a nice added touch, you know. And if I would have been more prepared, it would have been nice. But anyway, as far as load-in goes, so that was fine. Took a couple of trips myself with the wagon. I ended up not bringing my vending machine. I didn't bring it to Kohl's either. I brought it with me at the last, because at first I was like, I'm not going to bring it. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll bring it. Then when I got to there, I'm like, because the thing was, I didn't know if I would have room. I could have put it on my checkout stand. That's the only place I would have been able to put it. But at the time, because I had got everything else in and I put my wagon back already, and I was like, I could go out and get it, but I'm going to really feel like crap if I go out and get it now afterwards, like on its own special thing, and I bring it in and no one uses it. And then I have to bring it back out again, you know? And it's not set up the way I want it. That's part of the thing too. Like with all the improvements I want to make to it, I don't have it set up yet. So it would be the same as it always has been, and people don't like tend to do it. Now there's always a chance if I would have brought it in, maybe it would have brought in more sales for me, because that's the whole point of it, trying to get that to happen. But I don't know if it would have happened, because by experience, normally it doesn't. And I haven't made my improvements, like I said. So I was like, never mind, I'll just leave it in the car. I'm not going to bring it in. So I didn't bring it in. Like I said, don't really know if I would have brought it in and maybe people would have used it. I'm going to try to bring it in at my next event, which is the small one, the cat one. But there's very little space. I'm going to see if I can find a spot on the table for it, if it'll work. I might be able to do it. I might be able to put it on my crate. Like if I do it similar to the Kohl's, put it on my crate, and then maybe put my Employee of the Month sign somewhere else with the cat. Because I need that for that one. That's cat related. I need that one for sure. I don't know. And maybe I might have like a side table or a table in front of my table where I can put more stuff on too. So maybe I'll be able to do that. Because I'll have more space than I have at Kohl's. So I'm already trying to think ahead. But I would try to, because I don't have any more, well, I do. I was going to make more cat stuff. I was going to say, I don't have much more product I'm making for this event. So I do have time to maybe finally like revamp my vending machine the way I want to in time for that event. And I'll have space if I do that. So that's what I'm planning right now. We'll see. But I didn't bring it to this event. Now, as far as what I sold, I didn't tell you exactly what I sold for the Kohl's event either. Let me go back to that real quick. My Kohl's event, the first thing I sold was a magnet. In fact, yeah, the first thing I sold was a magnet. And there was this woman who came up to me and she's like, I'm so glad you have stuff that's less expensive because, you know, even though I work, like I don't have any money. And I'm like, I know, I get it. Because my magnets are $3. And she bought the one that says good food, good mood. She's like, oh, I like this, you know. I'm so glad you have something like less expensive that I can buy because I don't have a lot of money to spend. I'm like, cool. So then the other thing was that I sold the welcome sign, the framed welcome sign. I talked about that. So that was my $18 because that was $15. Magnet was $3. This one I sold, I might have to look because I don't remember anymore. Sorry, I needed my phone to figure out, remember what I sold. So my first customer was a small sign and a magnet. Now I kind of remember because she had taken the sign and she's like, oh, I like this, but I'm going to look at other stuff too. So she a sign and a magnet, a small sign. So that was $8. Then someone bought an ornament for $4. And then someone bought 2 of my small signs later on. So that was $8. So 8, and 4 is 20. That's what I sold. And people, again, I think I said this earlier, but there were people that were commenting on my bigger stuff, like my door hangers. And I didn't say this, I made extra signs for this. I made holiday related signs And I also did my trees finally, my 2-sided trees. So I have pictures of those I can show you. No one bought any of the trees, and no one bought any of the holiday signs actually either. But there were people that were commenting on them. They're like, oh, those are cute. And then a few, because on those I have the price on the back, and a few people looked at the price. I don't know if it was the price that, turned them off or whatever, but anyway, so there were people commenting on those things, they just didn't buy them. And then also the door hangers. And I don't know if, yeah. I'll say that, I think I mentioned earlier in the video with the last event that people comment on my small sign, my medium sign, 8x8, that says your opinion is not part of the recipe. And people always comment on that one. Well, this event, it was different. It was the other one I make, the 8x10, that says a house is not a home without paw prints. A lot of people, in particular this event, caught wind of that one, or like caught their eye, and they're like, oh, that one's cute. Like there's always something at an event that like everyone seems to like be magnetized to, but they never buy. And that was the one this time. So yeah, like I said, I was kind of really hoping for more at this event, but it's the economy, it's the competition, like I said. So the next ones I have are smaller, which now I'm kind of pivoting because the good one I did was the small one, and for the holidays. And I think that might be good because there's less competition. Like I said, at those, there's less vendors, and there's, people are going, especially with the cat one too. I think if I can really get a lot of cat stuff for that one, I'm pretty sure I can sell a lot of stuff. And the fee for that one, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like maybe 60, but it might have been like 50, something like that. So it's possible that I could make a profit at that one if I can get people to buy enough cat stuff or my other stuff that I have. So I think that one, I'm hoping that one will go good. We'll see how it goes. But then the other two events I have the next weekend, I have a school event on Saturday, and then I have the one I signed up for a long time ago, last year. It was the only one I had on my schedule, like the beginning of this year. That one I'm probably not expecting much, but it's the closest one I have to Christmas, so maybe I can sell some last minute Christmas stuff for people, Christmas gifts or Christmas related decor or whatever that I have at that one. So both of them actually. So, but I think the cat one's probably going to be the most lucrative, but I've been wrong, so I guess we'll see. So that's the end of this one. If I remember anything else when I'm doing the editing for this video, I'll add it in, but otherwise things been okay. I thought holidays would pick up more, but I mean, they did for a little while. I was making a profit at the beginning of this video, but then I wasn't. So we'll see how the next ones goes, because they are smaller fees and they're smaller events. So I think that will equal more sales, but we'll see. But anyway, thanks for watching. I know this one was long. Thanks for watching. Bye.